The space station called Meridian 7 floated in the darkness between stars. It was a place where humans and aliens came to trade, to rest, and to hide from their troubles. Ships of all sizes docked at its metal arms. Strange languages filled its halls. It was not a beautiful place, but it was a busy one. Kim Yuna worked in the medical bay of this station. She was 32 years old, with tired eyes and gentle hands. Her job was to build things that help broken bodies work again. Fake legs, mechanical arms, spines made of metal and wire. She was very good at her work, but she was quiet. She did not make many friends. She spent her nights alone in her workshop, building and fixing, always building and fixing. One cold morning, a ship arrived at Meridian 7. It was not like the trading ships that came every day. This ship was black and covered with old battle scars. Sharp metal spikes decorated its hull like the teeth of some giant beast. When it landed, the whole station seemed to hold its breath. The VOWED had come. Yuna had heard stories about the VOWED. Everyone had. They were a warrior race, tall and powerful, with bodies covered in thick gray fur. Their faces looked like wolves, with long snouts and golden eyes that glowed in the dark. They lived for battle. They lived for honor. And they believed that weakness was the greatest sin. Among the VOWED, the weak did not survive. If a cub was born sick or broken, it was killed or thrown away. They called this mercy. They called this keeping the pack strong. Yuna called it something else, but she kept that word to herself. She watched from a window as the VOWED warriors walked through the station. There were 12 of them, all huge, all carrying weapons that could cut through steel. At the front walked their leader, a massive creature with a face full of scars. His name was Garth, warchief of Clan Ironfang. His golden eyes looked at everything with disgust. As if the station and everyone in it were beneath him, Yuna was about to turn away when she saw something that made her stop. Behind the warriors, connected to the last soldier by a rusty chain, was a small figure. It was a VOWED cub, maybe 7 or 8 years old in human terms. But something was wrong with him. His back legs were twisted and bent at strange angles. He could not walk properly. He crawled and dragged himself across the floor, struggling to keep up with the warriors who pulled him along. The warriors did not slow down for him. When he fell, they kicked him. When he cried out, they laughed. One of them spat on his face and called him a word that Yuna did not understand, but she understood the meaning. She could see it in the way they looked at him. To them, he was nothing, less than nothing. He was broken, and broken things had no place among the VOWED. The cub's name was Kale. He had been born with twisted legs, and for that crime, his clan had marked him as shattered. He was not allowed to eat with the other cubs. He was not allowed to sleep in the warm dens. He was kept alive only to serve, to carry water and clean waste, until the day came when they would finally kill him in the ritual culling. Yuna watched as the warriors dragged Kale toward the trading district. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was beating hard in her chest. She told herself to look away. She told herself that this was not her problem, not her world, not her fight, but she could not stop looking at the cub's eyes. They were golden, like all VOWED eyes. But there was no fire in them, no hope, only a deep, endless sadness that Yuna recognized. It was the look of someone who had accepted that no one would ever help them, that they would die alone and forgotten, that their life meant nothing to anyone. Yuna had seen that look before, a long time ago, in a mirror. That night, she did something stupid, something dangerous, something that would change her life forever. She walked to the docking bay where Clan Ironfang had made their camp. The warriors were drinking and eating, celebrating some victory from a war she did not know. Warchief Garth sat on a pile of cargo crates like a king on a throne. The cub, Kale, was tied to a pole nearby, shivering in the cold. Yuna walked straight up to Gorath. The warriors stopped talking. They stared at her like she was an insect that had wandered into their den. Gorath looked down at her with those terrible golden eyes. He was 3 times her size. He could kill her with one hand. "What do you want, little human?" he asked. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. Yuna pointed at Kale. "I want to buy him." The warriors burst into laughter. Gorath did not laugh. He just stared at her with something like curiosity. "Buy him?" Gorath repeated. "He is worthless. He cannot fight. He cannot hunt. He cannot even walk. What use is he to you?" "That is my concern," Yuna said. Her voice was steady, even though her legs were shaking. "I will work for your clan for 1 full cycle, free of charge. Any repairs, any medical help, anything you need. In exchange, you give me the cub." Gorath was silent for a long moment. Then he reached down and grabbed the chain connected to Kale's neck. With one motion, he threw the cub at Yuna's feet. "Take the broken thing," he said. "It will die anyway. At least this way, I do not have to waste food on it." The warriors laughed again. Yuna did not listen to them. She knelt down and looked at Kale. The cub stared back at her with wide, terrified eyes. "It is okay," she whispered. "You are safe now. I promise." Kale did not believe her. He had never been safe in his life. But when she lifted him gently in her arms and carried him away from the laughing warriors, something small and quiet flickered in his chest, that it felt almost like hope. Yuna's workshop was small and messy. Tools covered every table. Wires hung from the ceiling like vines. Screens glowed with numbers and designs. It smelled like metal and oil. It was not a place for a child, but it was warm and it was safe, and for now, that was enough. Kale sat in the corner, watching Yuna with fearful eyes. He did not understand why she had taken him. He did not understand why she was being kind. In his world, kindness was a trick. Kindness meant someone wanted something from you. Kindness always came with pain. Yuna did not rush him. She did not force him to talk or move or do anything at all. She simply went about her work, heating food, cleaning her tools, humming softly to herself. Every few minutes, she would glance at Kale and smile. Not a big smile, just a small one. A quiet one. On the first night, she placed a bowl of hot soup near him and walked away. Kale stared at it for a long time. He sniffed it. He looked at Yuna. She was not watching him. She was not waiting to punish him if he ate without permission. Slowly, carefully, he drank the soup. It was the best thing he had ever tasted. On the second day, Yuna sat a little closer to him. She showed him a small metal bird she had built. It flapped its wings and made soft clicking sounds. Kale watched it with wide eyes. He had never seen anything so beautiful. When Yuna placed it in his hands, he flinched. But the bird did not hurt him. It just sat there, warm and alive, moving in his palms. "You can keep it," Yuna said. "It is yours." Kale did not know what to say. No one had ever given him anything before. He held the bird close to his chest and did not let go of it for 3 days. On the 5th day, Yuna began her real work. She used her machines to scan Kale's body. She studied his twisted legs, his bent spine, the way his bones had grown wrong from the day he was born. The damage was bad. Very bad. A normal doctor would have said there was nothing to do. A normal doctor would have given up. Yuna was not a normal doctor. She started drawing designs. Metal frames, joint supports, nerve connectors. She worked for hours without stopping. She forgot to eat. She forgot to sleep. Her friend Park Junho came to check on her and found her surrounded by papers and screens. Junho was a weapons engineer. He was tall and thin, with messy hair and glasses that were always dirty. He was a good man, but he did not understand why Yuna was doing this. "You have been working for 2 weeks," he said. "You look terrible. When was the last time you slept?" "I will sleep when I finish," Yuna said. She did not look up from her work. O looked at Kale, who was sleeping in the corner with the metal bird in his arms. The cub was cleaner now, healthier, but his legs were still broken. He still could not walk. "Yuna," Junho said quietly, "you know the vet will never accept them. Even if you fix his legs, he will still be shattered to them. You are wasting your time, your money, your health." Yuna stopped working. She turned to look at Junho with eyes that burned like fire. "Someone should have fought for him," she said. "Someone should have stood up and said that his life matters, that he deserves a chance. No one did. His own family threw him away like garbage." She turned back to her designs. "So I will fight for him. And if no one else cares, then I will care enough for everyone." Junho was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed and sat down next to her. "Fine," he said. "Show me what you are building. I know a little about armor. Maybe I can help." Together, they worked for 4 more weeks. Yuna designed the frame. Junho reinforced it with military-grade alloys. They built connectors that would link to Kale's nervous system. They created joints that would move with his thoughts. They made something that had never been made before, not just a tool to help him walk. A suit of armor that would make him strong. The day they finished, Yuna woke Kale gently and brought him to the center of the workshop. The armor stood there, black and silver, gleaming under the lights. It looked like something from a dream, something from a legend. "This is for you," Yuna said. "It will connect to your body. It will help your legs work. It will make you strong." Kale stared at the armor. He did not understand. "Why?" he whispered. "I am shattered. I am nothing." Yuna knelt in front of him. She took his small, furred hands in hers. She looked into his golden eyes. "You are not nothing," she said. "You are brave. You are strong. You survived things that would have destroyed anyone else. The only thing broken was the way they saw you. Not you, never you." Tears fell from Kale's eyes. He had never cried before. Crying was weakness. Crying meant punishment. But Yuna did not punish him. She just held him close and let him cry. When he was ready, they put the armor on him. It wrapped around his twisted legs like a second skin. It connected to his spine, to his nerves, to his mind. There was pain at first. Sharp, burning pain. But Kale had known pain his whole life. This pain was different. This pain had a purpose, and it stopped. Kale stood up. Not with his broken legs. Not with the twisted bones he had been born with. He stood on the armor, and the armor was him, and he was strong. He took a step. Then another. Then he ran. He ran across the workshop, laughing and crying at the same time. He ran like he had always dreamed of running. Fast, free, powerful. He turned to Yuna with wonder in his eyes. "I am not broken?" he asked. Yuna smiled. Tears were falling down her face too. "No, little one," she said. "You were never broken. They just could not see what you could become." Kale ran back to her and threw his arms around her. He held her tight and did not let go. In that moment, in that small, messy workshop, something was born. Not just a cub in armor. Not just a second chance at life. Something deeper. Something that would shake the stars. A bond that no one could break. News travels fast in space. Traders talk. Soldiers gossip. Rumors spread from station to station like fire through dry grass. And the rumor about the shattered cub spread faster than most. They said he was still alive. They said a human woman had taken him. They said she had built him armor that made him walk, made him run, made him strong. They said he was no longer shattered. When this rumor reached Clan Ironfang, Warchief Garth felt something he had not felt in many years. He felt angry. Truly angry. The kind of anger that made his claws dig into his throne and his teeth bare in a silent snarl. This was an insult. A human had taken their garbage and turned it into something that mocked their traditions. A broken cub walking around in metal skin, pretending to be whole. It was a challenge to everything the Veth believed in. It could not be allowed. Gorath sent 5 of his best warriors to Meridian 7. Their orders were simple. Bring the cub and the human to the Veth homeworld. They would face judgment before the entire clan. When the warriors arrived at the station, they did not ask politely. They marched through the halls with weapons drawn. They broke down the door to Yuna's workshop. They expected to find a weak human woman and a broken cub hiding in fear. What they found was different. Kale stood in the center of the room, wearing his black and silver armor. He was not shaking. He was not crying. He stood tall, with his chin raised, looking at the warriors with eyes that held no fear. Beside him stood Yuna, small and soft, but just as steady. The lead warrior, a brutal creature named Thorn, laughed when he saw them. The shattered cub thinks he is a warrior now, Thorn said. And the little human thinks she can protect him. How amusing. What do you want? Yuna asked. Her voice was calm. You will come with us? Thorn said. Both of you. You have insulted Clan Ironfang. You will answer for this before Warchief Garth. Yuna looked at Tail. The cub's hands were shaking slightly, but his face was set with determination. He gave her a small nod. Fine, Yuna said. We will come. Thorn seemed surprised. He had expected begging. He had expected resistance. This quiet acceptance confused him. But he was a soldier, not a thinker. He grabbed Yuna by the arm and dragged her toward the ship. Kale walked behind them. No one dragged him. No one chained him. He walked on his own 2 feet, and the armor made each step strong and sure. The journey to the Veth homeworld took 3 days. Yuna spent that time in a small cell, thinking about what was to come. She knew the Veth laws. She knew what judgment meant. If Garth decided they had dishonored the clan, they would both die. But she also knew something else. She knew that Veth law had rules. Old rules. Rules that even a warchief had to follow. When their ship landed on the Veth homeworld, Yuna looked out the window and saw a harsh place. Mountains of black rock stretched toward a gray sky. The air was thin and cold. Everything was built for war. Fortresses carved into cliffs. Training grounds covered in blood-stained sand. There was no beauty here. Only strength. Clan Ironfang's fortress was the largest of all. It rose from the mountainside like a giant fist made of stone and metal. Thousands of warriors lived inside its walls. Thousands more trained in the fields below. This was the heart of one of the most feared clans in the galaxy. Yuna and Kale were brought before Warchief Garth in the Great Hall. The room was massive, filled with warriors who had come to watch the judgment. Torches burned along the walls. The floor was made of ancient stone, worn smooth by centuries of feet. Gorath sat on his throne at the far end, watching them approach with cold, golden eyes. He looked even bigger than Yuna remembered. More dangerous. More powerful. So, Gorath said, his voice echoing through the hall. The human returns, and she brings our garbage back to us, dressed in shiny metal. The warriors laughed. Kale's hands tightened into fists, but he did not speak. Gorath stood and walked toward them. He circled Kale slowly, looking at the armor with disgust. You think this changes what he is? Gorath asked Yuna. You think metal and wire can fix what is broken inside. The weakness is in his blood. It is in his soul. Your toys cannot change that. Yuna met his gaze without flinching. I think you are wrong. The hall went silent. No one spoke to Warchief Gorath like that. No one? Gorath's eyes narrowed. You are brave, little human. Or perhaps just stupid. Either way, you have broken our traditions. You have taken what was ours. You have made a mockery of our ways. For this you will die. No, Yuna said. I invoke the right of proving. A gasp went through the crowd. Gorath froze. The right of proving was ancient law. Sacred law. Anyone accused of dishonoring a clan could demand trial by combat. If they won, they were declared worthy. If they lost, they died. No warchief could refuse this right. Not even Gorath. You? Gorath asked. You wish to fight? Yes, Yuna said. I built the armor. I took the cub. If anyone should be tested, it is me, not him. Kale grabbed her arm. No, he whispered. You cannot. They will kill you. Yuna looked at him and smiled. Then I will die fighting for you. That is worth more than living as a coward. Gorath studied her for a long moment. Then a cruel smile spread across his face. Very well, little human. You want to prove yourself? You will face my champion in the arena tomorrow at dawn. And when you die screaming on the sand, everyone will see how worthless your human mercy truly is. He turned and walked back to his throne. Take them to the cells, he ordered. Let the human have one last night to think about the death that waits for her. The warriors grabbed Yuna and Kale and dragged them away. As they left the hall, Kale looked at Yuna with tears in his eyes. Why? He asked. Why would you die for me? Yuna squeezed his hand. Because you are worth dying for, she said. And tomorrow I am going to prove it. The arena was a pit carved deep into the frozen ground. Stone walls rose high on every side, covered with the scratches and bloodstains of 1,000 battles. Above, thousands of Veth warriors sat in rows, howling and stamping their feet. The sound was like thunder. The sound was like war. Yuna stood at the entrance, looking out at the killing ground. The sand beneath her feet was white with frost. The air was so cold that her breath turned to mist. Her body was covered in armor she had built in secret during the journey. It was smaller than the one she had made for Kale, lighter, designed for speed, not power. It would help her move fast. It would help her survive. Maybe across the arena, a gate opened. The crowd went wild. The creature that walked out was a monster. His name was Skarn, and he was the greatest warrior Clan Ironfang had ever produced. He stood nearly 3 meters tall. His body was covered in thick muscle and old scars. Each scar was a story. Each scar was a life he had taken. He carried a massive axe with a blade that glowed with blue plasma. That weapon had killed over 200 enemies in single combat. Skarn looked at Yuna and laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had been told a joke. This is my opponent? Skarn called to the crowd. A tiny human female? Is this a test or an insult? The crowd laughed with him. Yuna said nothing. She walked to the center of the arena and waited. Warchief Gorath stood on a platform above the pit. He raised his hand, and the crowd fell silent. The rite of proving begins, Gorath announced. The human Kim Yuna has challenged our laws. She will fight until death or surrender. May the strong survive. He dropped his hand. Skarn charged. The ground shook with his footsteps. He moved faster than any creature that Sai should move. His axe swung down at Yuna's head with enough force to split a ship in half. Yuna was not there. She rolled to the side, her armor's joints hissing as they pushed her body faster than human muscles could manage. Skarn's axe hit the ground and threw up a shower of frozen sand. Before he could recover, Una was behind him, striking at the back of his knee with a small blade. The blade bounced off. Skarn's hide was too thick. He spun and backhanded her across the arena. Una flew through the air and crashed into the stone wall. The impact cracked her chest plate. Pain exploded through her ribs. The crowd roared with approval. Skarn walked toward her slowly. He was in no hurry. He knew he had already won. "You are fast, little human," he said. "I will give you that. But speed means nothing against true strength. You cannot hurt me. You cannot stop me. All you can do is delay the end." Una pushed herself to her feet. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. Her armor was damaged. Her body was screaming at her to stop, to give up, to accept death. She ignored it. "You talk too much," she said. Skarn snarled and charged again. This time, Una did not try to dodge. She ran straight at him. At the last moment, she dropped and slid between his legs, slashing at his ankle as she passed. The blade did not cut deep, but it cut. Skarn stumbled. He caught himself before he fell, but his rhythm was broken. Una did not stop moving. She circled him, staying low, staying fast. She struck at his joints, his tendons, the small gaps in his natural armor. Each hit was small. Each hit was nothing by itself. But together, they added up. Skarn grew frustrated. He swung his axe wildly, trying to catch her, but she was never where he expected. She used the arena walls, bouncing off them to change direction. She used the frozen sand, kicking it into his eyes. She used everything around her as a weapon. This was how humans fought. Not with strength, with cleverness, with patience, with the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. But Skarn was not a fool. He was the greatest warrior of his clan for a reason. He began to predict her movements. He began to cut off her escape routes. He herded her into a corner, step by step, until she had nowhere left to run. Then he struck. His fist caught her in the chest and sent her crashing to the ground. Before she could move, his massive foot pinned her down. His axe rose above her head. "Any last words, insect?" Skarn asked. Una looked up at him. Her vision was blurry. Her body was broken, but her eyes still burned with fire. "Yeah," she said. "You left your left knee open." She drove her hand up. A blade shot out from her gauntlet, thin as a needle, sharp enough to cut through starship hulls. It punched straight through Skarn's kneecap. Skarn screamed. It was a sound of pure shock and agony. His leg collapsed beneath him, and he fell to one knee. His axe dropped from his hand. Before anyone could react, Una was on top of him. She grabbed his head and held her blade against his throat. The arena was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The greatest warrior of Clan Ironfang was on his knees, beaten by a creature half his size. Una could feel his pulse under her blade. One push, and it would be over. One push, and she would win. But she did not push. Instead, she stepped back. She pulled her blade away from his throat. She reached down and offered him her hand. "Get up, warrior," she said. "You fought with honor. That deserves to be met with honor." Skarn stared at her hand. This tiny creature, this human who should have been nothing, had beaten him. And now she was offering him mercy. She was offering him respect. In all his years of fighting, no one had ever done that. Slowly he reached up and took her hand. She pulled him to his feet, and together they stood in the center of the arena, facing each other as equals. The crowd was silent for a long moment. Then, somewhere in the stands, a single Veth began to stamp his foot. Then another. Then another. The sound grew and grew until it was like an earthquake, like a storm, like the heartbeat of a god. It was applause. It was respect. It was awe. Yuna had done something no one thought possible. She had won. But more than that, she had shown them something they had forgotten. That mercy was not weakness. That honor could be given, not just taken. That the smallest creature could have the largest heart. That night, the great hall of Clan Ironfang was filled with silence. Not the silence of anger. Not the silence of shame. Something deeper. Something that none of the warriors had words for. Yuna stood in the center of the hall, her armor cracked and dented, her body covered in bruises. Beside her stood Kale, his hand in hers. They faced Warchief Goreth together. Goreth had not spoken since the fight ended. He sat on his throne, his golden eyes fixed on the small human woman who had done the impossible. His claws tapped slowly against the armrest. Tap, tap, ... and warriors waited. The silence stretched. Finally, Goreth stood. He was the largest Veth in the room, the most powerful, the most feared. When he walked down from his throne, each footstep echoed through the hall like the beat of a drum. He stopped in front of Yuna and looked down at her. "You have put me in a difficult position." "Human," he said. Yuna met his gaze. She did not look away. "I did what I had to do." "Yes," Goreth said slowly. "You did. And that is the problem." He began to walk in a slow circle around her and Kale. The warriors watched in silence, barely breathing. "Our law says that the strong survive," Goreth continued. "Our law says that weakness must be cut away. For 1,000 years, we have followed this law. It has made us powerful. It has made us feared. It has made us what we are." He stopped walking and looked at Kale. The cub stared back at him, trying not to shake. "I remember when this one was born," Goreth said. His legs were twisted. His spine was bent. By our law, he should have been killed. But his mother begged for his life. She said he might still be useful. So I let him live as a servant. His voice grew quiet. His mother died 2 years later. In battle. She was a good warrior. Strong. Brave. She would have been proud to see him standing here now. Kale's eyes widened. He had never known that. He had never known that anyone had fought for him before. Goreth turned back to Yuna. "You took a broken cub that we threw away. You built him armor with your own hands. You stood in an arena against our greatest champion. And when you won, you showed him mercy." He paused. "Do you know what that mercy cost you? By our law, if you had killed Skan, you would have earned his rank, his glory, his place in our stories. You gave all of that up." "I did not want his glory," Yuna said. "I only wanted to prove that Kale deserved to live." Goreth was silent for a long moment. Then he did something that no warchief had ever done before. He knelt. A gasp went through the hall. Warriors who had never shown fear in battle now stared with shock. Their leader, the most powerful warrior in the clan, was kneeling before a human. "Kim Yuna," Goreth said, his voice ringing through the hall. "You have taught me something today. Something that I had forgotten. Something that perhaps all of us had forgotten." He looked up at her with eyes that held no anger. Only something like gratitude. Strength is not only in muscle and claw. It is not only in blood and bone. True strength is in the heart that refuses to abandon the fallen. True strength is in the hand that lifts others up instead of pushing them down. He drew his ancient blade, a weapon that had been passed down through 50 generations of warchiefs. He laid it at Yuna's feet. "From this day forward, you are Ironfang," he declared. "You are one of us. Our home is your home. Our food is your food. Our protection is your protection." He turned to Kale. The cub was crying now, tears streaming down his furred face. "And you, young one," Goreth said, "you are no longer shattered. From this day forward, you will be known as Kale the Reforged." You are the first of your kind, but you will not be the last." He stood and faced the assembled warriors. His voice rose like thunder. "Any who threaten Kim Yuna or Kale the Reforged will answer to the full fury of Clan Ironfang. This is my word. This is our law." One by one, every warrior in the hall knelt. They spoke the ancient vow, words that had not been spoken for an outsider in 500 years. "Your blood is our blood. Your enemies are our enemies. We will die before you fall." The words echoed through the hall. They echoed through the fortress. They echoed across the galaxy dot, and in that moment, everything changed. Yuna returned to Meridian 7, but she did not return alone. Clan Ironfang sent a permanent honor guard to the station. 10 warriors, sworn to protect her with their lives. They stood outside her workshop day and night, terrifying every thief and troublemaker who saw them. But that was only the beginning. Word spread through the Veth clans. The story of the human woman who had built armor for a shattered cub. The story of how she had faced a champion and shown him mercy. The story of how Warchief Goreth himself had knelt before her. Other clans began to send their own shattered cubs to Meridian 7. Cubs with twisted limbs. Cubs with broken bodies. Cubs who had been told their whole lives that they were worthless. Yuna built armor for each one. Park Junho joined her. Then other human engineers. Then alien doctors from a dozen different worlds. What started as one woman's workshop became a movement. A revolution. A new way of thinking. Years passed. Kale grew into a powerful warrior, the first reforged, but far from the last. He trained others like him, teaching them that their past did not define their future, that they could be strong in ways their clans had never imagined. And when an enemy fleet came to destroy Meridian 7, thinking it was an easy target, they found something unexpected. 17 Veth warships dropped out of hyperspace and formed a wall between the station and the attackers. They did not negotiate. They did not threaten. They simply opened fire. The enemy fleet was destroyed in less than an hour. When the news spread across the galaxy, reporters and diplomats demanded to know why the Veth had risked so much for a human station. Why they had sent their warships to defend people who were not their own. Warchief Gareth answered them. His words were broadcast to every corner of known space. They were translated into 1,000 languages. They became a legend. "Because she fought for one child when no one else would," Gareth said. "She saw a broken cub that we had thrown away, and she refused to accept that he was worthless. She built him armor with her own hands. She stood in an arena against our greatest champion. She showed us that mercy is not weakness. She showed us what true strength looks like." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was quiet but firm. How could we do any less for her? And somewhere on Meridian 7, in a small workshop that had become a legend, Kim Yuna smiled. Beside her stood Kale the Reforged, no longer a frightened cub, but a warrior and a leader. She had saved one child. Just one. But sometimes that is enough to change everything.